Hi everyone, welcome back to Autism Parents No Filter. Well, today will be Parent Just Me. Gabriel's actually sitting next to me, gonna listen to me today. It's been a while since we've been on. We've been really busy since May. Graduations. What else did we go to? Just family party, birthdays, more birthdays. We have a big family. So we've been really busy, and finally we kind of have a little break before 4th of July or Independence Day. So I thought with everything that's going on in the world today, families being separated and all, I think it's the importance to feel what a parent really is and how we feel or the emotions we go through when being pregnant or when having our child being diagnosed, and just like the way we feel, we tend to push those feelings back. So I'm going to speak on my experience. It's been a couple of times where people have asked me what was I going through, how was I feeling when Nick was diagnosed with autism, and it's something I kind of don't really answer, don't really say the emotion that I was feeling. I think because if I were to say it, those emotions would come out or be true, and it's something where I'm not worried so much on how I feel, but on what I should be doing for Nick, or what I need to do for Nick. Because if I live off just on emotion, I'll be like a big old crying ball. Like a big old crying ball baby. And sometimes it's good to have those emotions come out, but I think I pushed them far in a long time ago, so I really don't tend to talk about it. I never even talked about it with Gabe. I think I never really talked about it with my sisters. I kind of always ignore that question on how I felt when he was diagnosed. And I think around this time, I kind of started feeling those emotions because I pushed him so far back that I didn't. I think now that Nick's older and I've gone through everything from the beginning and things have kind of calmed down and we're on a good road right now, those emotions start coming out. So if I start like getting teary-eyed. When I found out about Nicholas, I was still pregnant with Alexander. And the thing about Alexander is they told me Alexander would not be born, that it was a big pregnancy risk. So I was going through that emotion. So I was not only hormonal, but I was getting extra hormones to try to keep this baby alive. And at the same time, I was also dealing with Nicholas and his developmental delays. I've noticed at 1 year, he wasn't crawling at the age of 1. So that put up a red flag for me. And I knew in my head, like, something is not right. It's not going the way it's supposed to be. And I guess my head and my heart kind of went through different emotions, because my heart was saying, like, there was always that hope. Like, I'm wrong. I'm just seeing things I shouldn't be seeing. So I was like a big old ball of hormone at the time when I found out Nick was diagnosed. When they finally gave me the diagnosis, we couldn't diagnose Nick until the age of 2. So it was a whole year for me of what if. And I know they always say don't live in the what if, but in that moment, when you're living that moment, it's easier said than done. You kind of just roll with the punch, I guess. And you have everybody telling you, no, yes, this is what you need to look out for. And you're going to listen because it's people that care and they're there for you and they want to be supportive and they want to be there for you. But sometimes so much all at once just overwhelms you. So finally, when Nick's second birthday came up and they went and they said he was walking already, his verbal skills, he had no words, he wouldn't say anything. So when they finally diagnosed, I had a mix of emotions. At this point, I think I already had Alexander, but it was just a mix of emotions for me where I knew it. I knew I proved myself right. And then where do I go from here? What do I need to do? And at that, I remember feeling a sense of sadness, but not for myself, but for him. Because in my head, I'm thinking, oh my God, what's going to happen when he's older, or when I'm not here, or something were to happen to me? what's going to happen to him, or how are people going to treat him, or he's always going to be looked at differently. And that's the sense of sadness I had for him. And then I thought about myself, like, for a moment, for like a split second, will I be able to handle this? Will I be able to do it? You know, I didn't know how Gabe was going to react, so I had to think about myself, like, it's always that matter of, did I, or then it went into self-blame, like, did I do something in the pregnancy that caused this? Was it something I ate? Was it genetic? I mean, all these possibilities come to your head, and you look to blame yourself. And I think for a little bit I blamed, like, what did I do? Or was it something that triggered it? And so then I went on from that, where it's like, so I went from sadness to self-blame, and then to just upset, because then I started thinking, in this world where being a regular kid, you try to fit in so much at school. You try to change, you try to, you know, go with the flow, and you try to deal with bullies. So now how is a child who's not verbal, who does not know sarcasm, who does not know this, how is he going to be treated in school? And then we push him so much for therapy to fit in a society that might never accept who he is. So it's just all these things go into your head. It's like an emotional turmoil where you're thinking, so the emotions just keep going and keep going, keep going. So for that moment when they told me about his diagnosis, all those emotions came all at once. And then also I was still coming off the hormones from Alex's pregnancy. So it was a big ball of emotion. But at that moment, I decided to push all those emotions kind of away and kind of step up and be there and kind of be that role model and be strong for my son, where we have to go do intervention. What's next? Let's check out, OT, speech therapies, adaptive behavior therapies. So I started going into not being that mom of living off emotion, but living off on what's better for him and what it's going to help him. And so as I left all those emotions, kind of like pushed them, when you push down that emotion and you're trying to get rid of it and you don't want to feel that, that's why I kind of always neglected talking about it or how I felt. Because I think if I were to talk about how I felt, I would kind of like lose myself in those emotions instead of being there for Nick or being there for Gabe or being there for Alex. Because I still had things to do. I still had to be a mom. I mean, it's hard enough being a parent without a child with a disability. You have, they talk to you, they explain to you. But when you have a kid who can't tell you if he's sick, who can't tell you if something's hurting, you feel a sense of anger and sadness all at the same time. And you're trying to get, to understand him and communicate with him. And I think that's still one of the things I still struggle, even though Nick now, after all, I want to say 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 5 years of speech therapy and just, keep going with him, never ending every day. He does have words. He went from having no vocabulary to telling us what he wants or what he needs. Sometimes we still don't understand what he wants, but for the most part, he is able to show us or kind of tell us. But it's still that boundary. He still doesn't understand completely. I want to say he's at Alexander's age, and Alexander's 5, where Alexander's able to kind of understand him a little bit more than me sometimes, and Alex acts more like the big brother than the little brother. And at the same time, you have I feel that sense of emotion, I'm happy that Alex is being there for his brother, but then the sadness because Nick is supposed to be the big brother, not the little brother, not vice versa. It's just, those emotions, if I were to live off those emotions, I don't think things would get done. I don't think I would be able to keep going for Nick or to keep going for Alex. So it's bad. I think it's bad to put those emotions away, but I try not to let them get the best of me. And this, like I said, this is the first time I think Gabriel has ever heard me talk about how I felt about the diagnosis. Because for that split second, I felt like every emotion in the world in one. And I just had to push all those feelings. So when you're a brand new parent, don't, if you're scared or if you have that feeling like, oh my God, what's going to happen? You're not alone. I've been there. I still sometimes go through it. I know it's going to be okay because Nick works so hard all the time. And we push him as much as we can to his limits and give him his breaks. But those emotions are real. They're there. All I could say is try not to forget that they're there. I mean, being a parent is so hard, especially being a parent with a child with a disability. But that's exactly what I felt. So if anybody's ever going through that emotion, or they're in the middle of having their child diagnosed or assessed, I know what you're going through. I know those feelings of anxiety, of fear, of sadness, that your kid is different. But to me, different is okay. I wouldn't have my world any different. I love my kid. And I remember this one time where this doctor came up to me when I was pregnant with Nicholas, actually. And we were going to do the tests to see if the child was Down syndrome or not. And this always stays with me. She's will it matter if you do it or not? Are you going to love your child any less? And my answer to her was, no, I'm not going to love my child any less. She said, then it doesn't matter if you do their test or not, because no matter what, he's your child. So I never got the test, and but he ended up having something completely different. And like I said before, I don't lean one way where autism comes from. I really don't know. I don't think it was my fault. I don't think it's anybody's fault. I think it's just something that happens or occurs. I mean, if they find one day 100% theory that, show me the evidence where it came from, then, but as of now, I do not agree with any of them. I think it could be many factors, not just one. But I have no idea. But it's nobody's fault. He's your kid no matter what. So express yourself, talk to somebody. Don't just let those emotions get the best of you. And hope you guys stay tuned for our next Autism Filter. Maybe it'll be Gabriel next talking about dad's perspective, and that's a little bit different from the mom's perspective. See you guys.